Today, live from the Pinecrest Inn, it's the Smylie Show. So long, everybody.
This is the Smylie Show.
This is the Smylie Show. Big thanks to Dan Hicks there for bringing us in. And
I was in a trance watching it. I enjoy watching it every time.
It gets the blood flowing a little bit, gets the juices flowing.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's good. And I think that's our second technically sound-ish dismount.
Yeah.
2 weeks on the live. So
pretty good for us.
Don't let us get hot, man. We're going for the turkey next time. So
happy golf season, by the way.
Happy golf. Why is now the
football's over?
Oh, true.
Nobody's got an excuse.
What a stinker of a game that was.
Yeah, I'm just not into the NFL quite like other people are.
Same.
I mean, college football territory. I mean, I was into my squares game, which first time I'm like 1 for 100 in my life. And somehow I won on the 2-0 square, which I saw it. I was like, oh, of course, that's classic. I get that square and happened to win. So nice to win my first square ever.
That's it. That's like hang the banner in the rafters. First square one, Smylie Kaufman.
I cannot say no. How many squares do you want? How many can I buy? It's just I can't help myself. And it's mainly because I'm not like taking anything on the games. It's like, this is my action. Just the randomness of a roulette squares game is what I enjoy about the Super Bowl.
I needed to see a little bit more from our guy, Drake May, but we did get a Tar Heel connection. We got a Drake May to Matt Collins touchdown, which was something. On the heels of, and I think my voice is back after Saturday night at the Dean Dome. I think we might be all the way back. That was Smylie, let me tell you, about as electric as it gets to win in that fashion.
It's probably a good time to let you know that in the Duke, North Carolina rivalry, I always cheered for Duke growing up. Where I like landed as a kid in all this. So happy for you, but also, can you at least treat our players right next time leaving the court? That's all I ask.
You seem like a JJ Redick guy. That makes it. That adds up. That adds up.
I will say, was it Greg Paul? Was that a guy?
Paulus.
Greg Paulus.
Yeah.
He didn't really do it quite as much as JJ did it for me. And then honestly, the Grayson, what was his name?
Grayson Murray.
Yeah. Didn't necessarily do it for me. But so I kind of always cheered for Duke, but it kind of, ever since the NIL, all that started happening, started caring less and less about this game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're talking a lot about sports we are caring less and less about, the NFL, college basketball. I'm on the same wavelength as you on many of those things. How about we talk about a sport that we do care about, Smylie, because we had some golf action this week. Not only on the course, a ton of storylines on and off. We had some bait being dangled. They want to bring back the Players Major conversation, Smylie. They're going to make us talk about it. So that's out in the ether again. But man, I mean, first of all, we have not one, but 2 top 20 players in the world to discuss who won twice in their last 3 starts. Chris Gotterup, who's now 5th in the world. Patrick Reed is now 17th in the world. Just unbelievable stuff from both of those guys. And you were there on site at TPC Scottsdale for the WM Phoenix Open, watching Chris Gotterup win. Obviously won the season opener at the Sony Open, and now his second win in 3 starts at the WM Phoenix Open. It's also his 3rd win of his last 11 starts, dating back to the 2025 Scottish Open. As mentioned, jumps to 5th in the OWGR. He is 18th in the Data Golf rankings.
Did you already say he jumped to 5th?
5th.
Yeah. Whew.
5th.
How about that, right?
That top 5 now is so interesting to me because I believe off top it is Scotty, Rory, and then it's either Tommy or Justin Rose. One of those two flip-flop 3-4, and now Chris Gotterup. And if you told me at this point in the season that after we finished 2025, is this a new big 3, Scotty, Rory, Tommy? And you're like, hey, the other 2 guys are going to be, it would have probably taken me 100 guesses, maybe more, to say Justin Rose and Chris Gotterup. It was unbelievable stuff.
Gosh, but I'm here for it.
Love it. And boy, it's deserved for both those guys. Justin Ray Golf, Justin Ray Golf is his Twitter account. Justin Ray is the human being who's the unofficial official show researcher. Great stat. We're gonna have a number of stats we're gonna drop on you from Justin throughout the show. But the most PGA Tour wins in the last 3 seasons, Scotty Scheffler has 14. Rory McIlroy has 5, and Chris Gotterup has
Dude.
4. Wild.
14.
Wild to think about. It's Scott. The Scotty number
The
is
Scotty number is the one, honestly, to break down there. But Goddard and Roy just about being tied is really cool too.
well, and Scotty, and we'll get to Scotty a little bit later. But I mean, coming down the stretch after opening the way he did on Thursday, you're like, is he gonna find a way to win this golf tournament again? Like this can't be possible at the rate we're going. But he gave it a good run, and he posted 15 before, of course, Gotterup came in and posted 16 and ended up in that playoff. But to start with Gotterup, I mean, such an amazing ascent on a number of different levels. And I remember talking after Sony where you were just, breaking down the way he's continued to add to his game, in some ways through exposure to other top tour pros in a number of different settings. Specific to this week, what impressed you the most about the way Chris got this tournament won?
Oh gosh. Well, that's first off, huge congrats to Chris. I mean, I didn't even know he was going to win the golf tournament until I was like, wait, he's about to be in a playoff? It was the most bizarre thing ever. It just felt like it was Hideki or nobody else, right there towards the end, especially just the way he was maneuvering himself around the golf course. And here comes Chris Gotterup on Sunday and does a little, let's see, how did he finish? We got hold on, this is round 1 I'm looking at. Was it 4 birdies in his last 5? Is that right?
Yeah, let me pull that stat for you as well. I mean, really, where I want to go is we kind of break down his round, but the birdie on 18 on his 72nd hole in regulation hits a drive right of the cart path over where the fans are standing.
Yeah.
It has to have I guess he could have posted 15, then would have been theoretically in a playoff with Scotty and would need Hideki to drop 2 shots. But the shot he hits over there, 130 yards to give himself 3 feet for birdie and makes that to post 16. Unbelievable stuff.
Oh gosh, yes, unbelievable. And it all kind of starts with me with Chris Gotterup heading into this week. He gets the pairing, right? You get the Scotty Scheffler Thursday, Friday pairing with Jordan Spieth. That's a big spot. There's a lot of first-time tour winners. I know he's not a first-time tour winner, but getting into that upper echelon pairing where you're up against Scotty on a Thursday, Friday, it's like a Sunday on a Thursday, and very few people have to deal with it. Scotty deals with it every day, but other people that play with Scotty aren't used to maybe the crowds that he attracts week in and week out or day in and day out. And so what impressed me so much about Chris was that he was able to get off to a really hot start on Thursday and be leading the golf tournament after the first round, beating Scotty Scheffler by 10 on Thursday, shoots 30 on the backside, shoots 63, no bogeys. And I think what that tells you is just how mentally prepared he was for that day. And it tells you a lot about him as a player, the swagger that we continue to talk about, the freedom that he seems to be playing with right now, really winning that Sony Open. He talked about it, how much more freedom it gives him. He actually mentioned too, how it gives him just the financial stability to be in the top, making 5 years on the PGA Tour, the full benefits in retirement. He mentioned that. You're like, oh, I guess he could be thinking about that. And he was thinking about it somewhat. Now it's like, all right, I'm going to be pretty loaded the rest of my life. Might as well just go make more money at this point.
Do you see his tweet on that, by the way? Where
pay me my money.
Pay me my money. Number 4, win number 4. So good.
And so that Thursday round, really, really impressive. And then, kind of sleptwalk through Friday and Saturday. And I think that was probably the most impressive part about the week to me. We all know that he can do what he did on Thursday and Sunday, where he can go and take it deep and make a bunch of birdies, drive it way down there. But it's more so keeping himself in the golf tournament, even though he didn't necessarily have his best on Friday and Saturday. I think that's the sign of a player maturing, realizing that, hey, I'm maybe I don't need to push here. I don't need to have a 5-shot lead. I just need to stay in the golf tournament. And I thought Chris did a really good job of managing that on Friday and Saturday, although maybe the putts weren't falling or the birdies weren't coming. And he just kind of waited for his time, and it showed up at the right time on Sunday. Let it loose on the last 5 holes, gave himself an opportunity, and lucky for him, Hideki had the case of I don't know where the ball's going off the tee.
How about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait on it. You undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The money line keeps climbing, though, if you'll notice.
Yes.
The point spread hasn't moved. It's been locked in at 4.5. The money line, though, keeps creeping up, man. It was 210, and it's funny because normally you figure the number would be correlated, right? It's like, all right, the money line, the point spread's this, that means the money line is that, which tells us there's a lot of money line plays coming in on Seattle.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He completed a pool bank shot at just 2 years and 302 days. His achievements make him one of the youngest double record holders ever. So let me summarize this for you without reading. He's 2 years old, and he's really good at pool. I mean, that is crazy. 2 years old! How is he doing this? I have no idea. So I guess we got to start training our youngsters to play pool. Okay, fair enough.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and I wonder too if you've seen a specific, like you're speaking there to the mental, to the approach, the game strategy of playing on tour. If there's an area of his game that you've seen grow the most since that went to the Scottish Open, because just thinking about the last 2 holes he plays of the tournament, where, as mentioned, hits it way right, hits an incredible wedge 130 yards out to give himself that birdie to knock in, and then the playoff hits a drive that everyone, including the TV broadcasters, think, oh, that's going to land in that last fairway bunker.
Covers
a fairway bunker, 349 yards, and then rightfully hits a safe wedge shot, knowing that Hideki has to make a 20-footer for par to stay in the playoff. Hits it at 27 feet, but then jars that putt for birdie to win the tournament. 2 birdies in a row on the 18th there at TPC Scottsdale to get it done. Is there an area of his game, like we know, driving distance has been his plus, his superstar skill his entire career, but where have you seen him grow the most in maybe another area of his game since that Scottish Open win?
Well, before I answer that, I think it's worth pointing out that the first time that he played with Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler was, so Rory was that Sunday at the Scottish Open, goes and shoots 66 and wins by 2. And then the first time he plays with Scotty Scheffler, he goes out and shoots a bogey-free 63, beats him by 10. I think that side of it for me, the confidence and the mental aspect and just his overall confidence that he plays with, I think is the most growth that I've seen from a player for players that we always want to see take that next step. He's answered the bell right away. Sometimes it takes guys, 10 attempts to be like finally comfortable playing against the world's best, but he doesn't care. He's like, dude, this is what I got. I'm going to go out and do my best. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. And I think that's the jump that we've seen from maybe early in his career to now. Now, sure, he's probably gotten better in different aspects of his game, but that to me is the huge thing that Chris has right now that so many players are trying to get, which is playing with freedom, confidence, and growing in the mental side of the game. And just reminds me so much of a Brooks Koepka type.
The last thing that I just wanted to hit on the way out with Chris is looking at the one area of his game where he can maybe benefit from some consistency. Because if you look at the strokes gain categories this week, he's first tee to green, he's 6th off the tee, he's 5th in approach, he's 2nd around the green, but he's 50th in putting. But then if you go look at his full stats profile, not the limited small sample size of just a 4-round tournament, you look at it overall, he's above average in putting. And it looks like he has this sort of back and forth contrast of week to week. He'll have like a pop week where his stats are way off the chart, and then he'll have a negative week the following week. And even round around, like on Thursday, he was, I think it was 5th or 6th in the field in putting. And then the next day he's 119th on Friday. So is there something specific to putting you see where he could develop a little more consistency there, to where it's almost similar to Scotty, and that if he pluses this thing up, he's going to be entrenched in the top 20 in the world for some time to come?
Yeah, I've talked to Chris and his team a little bit about all of his short game stuff that he's worked on and just goals heading into this season. And Chris had told me that the main parts of his game that he was working on were mainly wedges heading into this year, and then also working from like 10 to 25 feet. He said that was an area in which he's worked a bunch on. So, and also speaking with his short game coach, Tim Yelverton, it works with his putting. He said that really the Sony like putted it well, but then when he got to the Farmers, he started standing too close to the golf ball. His eyes had gotten too far over the ball. He said that was an adjustment they made after the Farmers, and clearly it worked this week. So just managing, setup day to day. And I talked to Tim about this. I was like, it's so easy for guys to get
always set up,
to
right?
to get their calibrations off. And I think Chris is probably learning how to, avoid just those basic setup mistakes to where he can be a little bit more consistent day to day, like you're talking about. But also I found interesting too is that heading into this week, I talked about TPC Scottsdale and around the green, it's kind of the challenges that you might have. A lot of bump shots. You don't typically get good enough lies because of the firmness of the greens to be able to fly something onto the green. The chip shots with a bunch of spin, that first bounce is just so big. And a lot of times it's, you can have the whole, depth of the green to use, but most of the time you end up short-sided around this place, and you're just constantly hitting these bump shots, which I think caters to Chris Gotterup's game because, you look at his full swing and you see he's got his hands pressed so far forward, that shaft is forward, and throughout his bag, it kind of is emulated that way. His chipping looks this way, that handles forward, the putting sometimes can look that way. And so where does that beneficial? Well, of course, like when you have a setup like that, bump shots, bunker shots, rough shots are fairly easy. Like that's where his bread and butter is. Like he's very, very good pitcher of the golf ball when he can, play the shots low with some spin. He's awesome and out of the bunkers. You go watch him slap bunker shots. It's really impressive to watch. But the shot that he was trying to develop this week was something that was up in the air more. And he had Joe Mayo come take a look at it this week. And Joe had said that he's like, dude, I wouldn't mess with any of your stuff. If you want to hit a shot up in the air, just move the ball up, move the handle back. But I don't want anybody to tell you to change what you're doing. Like what you're doing is good enough. And sometimes like that type of coaching, like Joe could have gotten in there. It's like, you need to do this, this, and this. And Chris Gotterup probably wouldn't have won the golf tournament this week because the player's thinking too much. So just to get that, just that feel of, okay, this is how I want to hit it, but my stuff is good enough as it is. It's not surprising for me to see that Chris Gotterup won this week after speaking with him, his coaches, and just the confidence that he has. And really Brett McCabe's been helping him with his mental side of the game. And he said he's just continued to make progressions in that side of the game and playing with freedom.
Isn't that, there are two things there that I find really interesting that relate back to conversations you've had with tour pros on this podcast a number of different times. One is just if you do something and it's kind of your go-to calling card and it's great for one part of the bag, it has this sort of flow and impact into other parts of the bag. And how do you kind of solve for that? And it's interesting that Joe Mayo, one of the best on tour for a reason, was able to kind of come in and say, hey, don't change your bread and butter. Just feel confident in doing maybe these small things, but stick to what you are. I think that's super interesting. And then second, for people like me, sicko putter tinkerers, always trying to go to something different. If you're not rolling it well, oh, should I go to a broomstick? Should you go to the claw grip? It's like, you know what? Listen to all these tour guys talk about it. A lot of times, just make sure your setup is consistent on a day-to-day basis. That usually will shore up most of your issues. So good learns for all of us out there who are with the same affliction that I do.
Aaron Judge, no stranger to hitting 60 home runs in a season, but we certainly aren't going to put a FanDuel win total or even DraftKings at 60. So Sam, our producer, set it at 55. Aaron Judge will hit 55 plus home runs this year. You going to buy or sell?
All right, Aaron Rodgers here.
Oh, there
Aaron,
he is.
What do you think? What do you think, Aaron? Can you hit 55? Aaron Judge, right? I got it in my head here. 55 is asking a lot, Sam. It's asking a lot. He hit 53 last year, 58 the year before, 37, but that was the year he hurt his toe in Dodger Stadium, and then of course 62. I gotta sell this. All right, you're asking for just to be 7 home runs off the record. I mean, no, we can't keep doing this every year here. Plus, he does have an injury history there. Over the last 2 years, he's been completely healthy. I'll just say no. Between the possibility of an injury, teams waking up and going, nope, not pitching to him. I'll take the under here. Although as a Yankee fan, he better, because if he don't, Yankees gonna be in a lot of trouble.
So I've decided to go by the letter of the law. Sam is not going to like this. Sam is not going to like my answer. Yep. Sam, listen. Sam leaves these little loopholes in the buy or sell. 55 home runs between 55 plus the regular season, postseason, World Baseball Classic. Buy. Spring training. Buy. Above 55 between spring training, World Baseball Classic, regular season, and postseason. Aaron Judge will hit 55 home runs. He didn't say this season. He didn't say this season. He said this year. The graphic says this year.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
On the 73rd hole to make that playoff, a chance to win that playoff, considerably more difficult. But if you only hit 3 of 14 fairways on Sunday, I think it says a lot about the rest of your game that you're able to hang on, even make it into the playoff at all. If you go back and look at the stats for the week, 70th off the tee in strokes gained, but second in approach, third around the green, third in putting. So just start by extracting the positives for Hideki. Obviously disappointed to lose, but what do you take away good from this week if you aren't able to lift the trophy at the end of it?
Well, it has to sting, for Hideki to not win this golf tournament. He did so many amazing, great things, veteran things on a Sunday where he didn't have it. And so often when players don't have their best on a Sunday in the final group, they don't win the golf tournament. There's too many other good players that are playing well on Sunday. And Hideki found, 3 putts on the front 9 where he made over 20 feet, 2 for par, 1 for birdie. And you're just like, this guy he just won't stop. It was so fun to watch because you just felt like he was going to make these putts. And these greens too, they're not easy to read. They're very subtle. They roll perfectly, but Hideki seemed to be on point with them really the entire week. But yeah, you said it. The ball striking never looked, it looked crisp at times. Like he would swing long irons and you're just like, whoa, that was so flush. And then other times throughout the week, it just felt like he was not quite all the way there on a specific shot shape with the driver. Like it was left misses at times. Then he would be pushing it. So 2-way misses that were just enough they weren't bad enough for the most part to get him in trouble. Besides really the second hole, he was pretty good about keeping the ball relatively in play, playing the angles, which you had to do. You had to play the angles out there, missing it on the right or the correct side of the fairway. But then eventually it just bit him. It was, he ran out of luck, I should say, because it really did feel like he had a horseshoe in his bag throughout the whole day, catching some breaks and just making the most of what he had. And I thought it was going to be enough to win the golf tournament. I really did, because of how composed he remained throughout the day. Just stoic, man. And there's a reason why he's a major champion. There's a reason why he's won 10 plus times on the PGA Tour. And we saw it firsthand yesterday. It's a shame he didn't get it done, because it would have really been a cool testament of just how incredible of a golfer overall Hideki is, top to bottom.
The the shot he hit from the desert on 13 was just unbelievable. He hits it right again. And it was funny, they showed a replay after where he like backs into a cactus or some sort of prickly bush. So, whoa, what's going on there? He just slings this high cut. It's just, again, it's if you're driving it that poorly, the ability to, here we go. Hold on. We're having some fun tech stuff here on the stream. He's back. You're back. I don't know what that was all about, but we saved it.
Hello
again. But yeah, I mean, just that shot on 13, I think was a great encapsulation of that's how you make it to a playoff at 16 under,
right,
if you have nothing off the tee. And that's pretty impressive stuff. So the place I want to go to next, as mentioned, there's a question here, just thoughts on spectator interruptions affecting Hideki. And I think this is such an interesting topic because it's specific to what happened to him. And if you did not see, don't know what we're referencing here, there were two shots that were obviously very pivotal down the stretch that he was interrupted in the middle of playing them. So the first was on the 18th hole. He's got a par putt that would win him the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Someone yells something in the middle of a stroke. He stops and replays it. The second was on the tee in the playoff. He does like a Tiger Woods, like pumps it in the downswing and stops it. And I think that, so in the social media, people covering, reporting, trying to gather what happened, piecing together videos out there, and all this, of course, unverified, but what we can find on it is that the first one was intentional. It was maybe someone that was streaming. We had streamer issues earlier in the week where a guy was out there, paid someone $100 to yell something in Mackenzie Hughes' backswing. The second was a very unfortunate accident, as far as we can tell, with the security guard dropping a chair on accident in the middle of his swing. But I just want to talk about this event in general and the crowds it generates, because I think that, similar to life, not everything is just a black and white situation, right? Two things can be true. The first thing can be true that the Thunderbirds put on an amazing event out there that does some great stuff for the community. It's a really fun event. It's a unique atmosphere that played, one time a year like this, a lot of guys can enjoy the sort of change of pace and the energy it brings, right? That can be true. What also can be true is, because it's a unique event, you're inviting a fan in that might not be a golf fan, that might not have a ton of appreciation or understanding of the etiquette that surrounds the game.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on crap.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
The money line keeps climbing, though, if you'll notice.
Yes.
The point spread hasn't moved. It's been locked in at 4.5. The money line, though, keeps creeping up, man. It was 210, and it's funny because normally you figure the number would be correlated, right? It's like, all right, the money line, the point spread's this, that means the money line is that, which tells us there's a lot of money line plays coming in on Seattle.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Adding Hunter doesn't instantly fix its woes, it paper cuts them. He helps their perimeter defense and spacing, but Sacramento still lacks a true star and parts that they have to move. Hunter and Sacramento won't save the season, but this move tells you that the Kings have officially given up on its aspirational stars and doubling down on depth as their future.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and say, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
the whole game growth thing we've talked about again and again, just how you do it in the right way and how you educate these types of people. And I think, the streaming thing, I'm not even going to say these people's names, but like, go look at the streamer and go look at the type of content he puts out, the guy on Friday, and you can make a judgment as to whether or not it's worth having a guy like that around the game of golf. Same thing with the guy on Sunday with Hideki's putt. Just go take a look at that guy and the way he handled the aftermath when he was confronted about it, and decide if you want that game and that person in and around the game of golf.
So the Hideki par putt was a similar thing?
It was not as high profile as a streamer, but it was, again, all unverified reports, but there was an Instagram video where a guy comes up and confronts this guy, and he was, apparently had his phone going live or something and was streaming, yelled in the middle of that putt. And that's what we can gather as to what happened there. So I want to ask you about
shrink the game.
All caps shrink. So I want to ask you about just how you feel about these incidents, and then just the fans at large this week. Because in the past few years, we've seen some crazy incidents and things that had to be sort of reeled in, and it seemed like there was less of that this year. But where I want to start is there's something you suggested before, and I think we have a solve here, Smylie. I'm proposing ban phones. No phones at any golf tournament ever, unless you're a credentialed media person who is there to cover content. Because you know what you do if you do that? Everyone who's trying to do the whole look at me streamer thing, no interest in going to the golf tournament anymore. And perfect. See you later. Hope to never see you again. Like, I don't think that there is, I can't really think ever of a time where I've been on a golf course or a tournament. Like, you know what I really like to do is just like be on my phone right now. Like, so people who really care about the game and all that, like, let's just get phones away from the game entirely. The Masters does it. We love that experience every single year. I don't want phones in golf anymore at all, and I think you solve a lot of these problems.
No, that's a take for all PGA Tour events. I was maybe for the majors, I think was a good place to start, but jumping straight into the deep end to Phoenix, that's a tough sell. That's a tough sell.
The people are with me. Augusta vibes everywhere. I mean, what don't people like about Augusta vibes? Like, everyone loves the Masters. You know what they do there? They don't have phones. Oh, wow. All of a sudden, it's the most polite and respectful spectator event that we have in professional golf. Why don't we just do that everywhere?
So, okay. So I look at these in two lenses as a fan.
Some people are also disagreeing.
Without a phone, I do think I'd be concerned as a fan that I might take it to another level. I might have too much fun without a phone. It's like there's no more phone. When we would go ghost mode without the phones and go out to the bars back in the day, the best. Like, so that's something you have to consider.
What's so bad about that? What's so bad about that?
Again, you're not helping the problem here.
I mean, I think that I don't know. I just think a lot of these things are, copycat type deals of, especially if you're inviting someone in who doesn't understand how the game. I guarantee you there were people that had tickets to this event who saw what happened on Friday with the first streamer, like, oh, that was funny, it was hilarious, like, I'm gonna go try to do something like that. Like, I'm not saying that directly connected to what this guy did to Hideki on Sunday, but this is the world. This is the world we live in. It is what it is.
That DraftKings is right outside that deal. That's the thing that you have to worry about. As we've talked about it with people placing just tickets right before they get to the golf course, and they show up. They're like, well, shoot, I'm 3 down. I got to find a way to get back into this, and I can affect the outcome.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a whole other can of worms that I think is, look, it's inevitable. I think a lot of these things is, would I like it to be different? Sure, I would. I could sit here and tell you 15 to 20 things I like to change about professional golf. Are those things going to change? They're not, for a number of different reasons. Gambling is one of them. It is what it is. It adds money to the ecosystem. And so you just kind of have to deal with it as it is. And again, I understand my no phone suggestion is insane, but at the same time, it's like, how you're not going to go talk to these people individually and talk sense into them. Like you're not like, so what are you going to do? How about this? Bring back ghost mode. That's our new show drive. Bring back the ghost mode. I think, and I see a comment in here, and look, and it's fair. I'm not trying to make excuses for Hideki here. Like, he hit 3 of 14 fairways. Like, I'm not saying that all of a sudden, if he doesn't have a distraction, he finds a fairway on 18, but this is the problem, is that we'll never know. We'll never know because something happened and it threw him off his concentration. And now, whether you like it or not, even the most mentally strong people in the world are going to get over that ball, and their process has been interrupted. And that's the thing I hate, is like, we can't really clearly say yes or no, Hideki would have got this done without fan interruption. So it's tough, man. It's a tough scene. Should we do a little more cleanup on some other names in WM before we head out and talk a few additional topics? That sound good to you?
Yeah, 100%. I just think that I just want to talk kind of briefly about TPC Scottsdale, because I think it's a golf course that I think, we talk about just events that are fun to watch on TV. Every hole just feels like something really fun could happen outside of maybe the 14th hole, which Scotty Scheffler happened to make a putt from off the green from about 50 feet. But outside of like 14, you got 13's a par 5. You can go back to really every hole on the back 9 at TPC Scottsdale is awesome. It is such a good golf course. They had this place firing. I mean, the greens were so firm this week. It made it so much about how precise you could be off the tee into the greens. And I think the element of challenge that these players were having to deal with, where do I land it on the green, dealing with a little bit of wind, greens that are really difficult to read, and then throw in just the craziness of the atmosphere. It's I can understand why some players don't like playing. I can understand why some fans don't like the craziness. But when you just look at TPC Scottsdale and what it provides, it's one of the best venues that they have on the PGA Tour for viewing purposes on a Sunday, because so many guys had a chance to win, which goes to what you're talking about with Thor. He eagles the 15th hole, gets to 17 under. Remind you, the playoff was 16. Hello, Thor was right there, and he makes bogey at 16, makes bogey at 17, finishes at third, doesn't end up in the swing 5, and so you have all these different storylines that were happening on Sunday. Gotterup never felt like he was at the top of it. It was Hideki, Siwoo Kim, Thor. You had other guys like Pearson Coody, Jake Knapp, Akshay Bhatia, Fitzy, and Gotterup had felt like it was just a Thursday storyline, and that was it, because he had gone mute on Friday and Saturday, and then it was like, oh, by the way, here I am. So I just felt like Thor was a really interesting one to talk about, maybe because of just how good he is at golf. I mean, this is a guy that led the PGA Tour greens and regulation last year. He's a flusher of the golf ball, is starting to improve his putting, and he had 4 top 5s last year, 2 runner-ups in his short career. Remember, this is his 2.5 year technically. Last year was his first full year. Came off of Stanford in the PGA Tour U program the year prior. And what else do you want to see from a guy, right? And I loved his comments after the round too.
Yeah, so I want to read those here. I quickly on the Scottsdale point, because I think it's so dead on. Is like the drama it builds on that back 9 for a finish. I mean, there's a reason why I think it's 7 of the last 11 of these tournaments to finish in a playoff. Just coming. There's so much that can happen, and I saw some critique of the playoff format. Like, I would just love to see a 3-hole playoff. Like, I mean,
that's a Super Bowl problem.
That's a Super Bowl problem, and I get how you say, well, you could go to 16, but sudden death on a par 3 is a little bit hokey. So you could do, but it's tough. But I mean, can you imagine
I like
a playoff
18.
starting? 18 is great, but I mean, a 3-hole playoff where you have the loudest and most intense par 3 in all of golf, a drivable par 4.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
It'd be amazing.
Selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction. Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Peterson right now is minus 300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk, and you saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
David Tyree.
Oh, wow.
The 2008 Giants win against the New England Patriots and the Tyree catch of the Plaxico Burress game-winning touchdown. That was the only other time in Super Bowl history where the betting public won money.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
This is another Justin Ray stat for you. The top 20 finishes in all 4 PGA Tour events in 2026. Pearson Coody and Siwoo Kim. And Pearson, God bless Pearson Coody, because he just played the first 4 of the season and finished. I think first in the AL and Swing 5.
Yeah, who was the Swing 5, by the way?
Let me pull that up right now as we're talking. But by virtue of that, Pearson now gets to play 6 straight weeks in a row.
Oh, so if you're in that AN Swing 5, it gets you into the next 2 events, basically?
AT&T and Genesis.
Wow, man, that is so... Man, that Thor bogey on 17 proving even more costly.
Well, and I think... Hold on, let me... I can never pull this thing the right way. Here we go. Swing 5... Thor dropped. Thor was 1, and now he dropped out of it entirely. Yeah, so it's Pearson Coody, Ryo Hitsatsune, which, by the way, we need to have like a full-on Ryo discussion at some point in time. So I love him so much. Jake Knapp, Matt McCarty, and Patrick Rogers are the Swing 5 that get into both the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am and the Genesis Invitation.
Where did McCarty play good?
McCarty played good.
Is it Farmers?
Let me just pull up his results this season so I can give you that. He finished T55 at the Sony, T2 at the Amex, and T18 at the Farmers. And then
I was working Amex, and we didn't show a ton of it.
So I want to note those 2 guys have been playing great this year.
That's even worse. He must have had like a good Sunday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, had to have. Yeah, well, it was interesting having Joel and Keith up there talking about Pearson.
Yeah.
You know, they were both just as high on Pearson as I was. And they said similar to Thor, a guy that's going to win. I just love how simple his game is. It doesn't seem like the game is, it just comes so naturally to him. It looks like, you know, guys, they're always working on things. To me, it looks like he can get after it, swings it hard, hits it straight. Led strokes gained off the tee in 2025. Now, granted, he's playing much easier golf courses, so it's kind of not necessarily comparing similar things between the golf courses Scotty and Rory are playing, but still, it just tells you how good of a driver the ball is. And again, that's do you at some point is 5 and 6 weeks in a row too much, or do you trust that Pearson Coody played 32 times last year? He's built for this.
That's what. You know, because I'm thinking about it next week is, you know, we just keep riding him at 1 and done, like suggesting him every single week.
Yeah.
And specific to, I mean, you saw it at the Farmers. If you go back and look at his stat profile, putt's great on Poe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, here we go. We're going to Pebble and Spy. Should love him here. But it's like, can we put him in like a cryogenic preservation chamber? Like, what can we do to make sure Pearson doesn't just run out of gas? Because, I mean, but he did it last year. He played 15 times on the Korn Ferry Tour and earned a status that way, and then another, whatever, 15 or 17. So he has the Iron Man gene. It's just that how long can one human being play?
Same with Siwoo. So we'll see how Siwoo goes too. But before we kind of transition out of this Phoenix Open, the last thing that I want to kind of bring up to you is just having some conversations with folks around the WM Phoenix Open and the future of that event and what the future schedule looks like for the PGA Tour. So if you're listening, there's all the conversations the PGA Tour are having about 2027 and the scheduling, and where is the WM Phoenix going to slate in? Is it going to be, similar to where it has been, go Sony MX Phoenix Open? From what I've gathered, the PGA Tour wants to start out with their big opening day, and Phoenix Open currently is slated to be number one. That is where they want to start. They want to start with a bang. And I think right now they're trying to figure out the scheduling, if it's going to be Super Bowl weekend. I think I've heard suggestions of, hey, would you be okay doing it after the Super Bowl, completely not even mess with football? Phoenix Open has no interest in that. But what I find interesting is that seems fine. Like having it during the Super Bowl weekend, like that's where they want it. And I can understand why Phoenix wants it there. And for the amount of like, it's so different, like the NFL has all these different franchises and teams. And this is where you run into the issues of roll-up running the PGA Tour like the NFL, where things are different. Roll-up probably is walking around and thinking, man, we need to replicate this everywhere, right? Like let's do these big events, big cities, having all these great crowds and just huge build outs. But you're so reliant on these tournaments and the tournament directors and these big organizations to be able to do these things. And that's the difference in the NFL. They have the stadiums, they have the owners to be able to provide all of these things week in and week out with a site that ain't going anywhere, a stadium. Where these golf tournaments, we talked about the scheduling. It's like, how are you going to go into Chicago and say, hey, let's go to Chicago Golf Club every year? And then roll-up's like, wait, why can't we go there? That seems like a great place. So I think there's a lot to learn, and it's like we want to go
Pine
to
Valley.
Let's
go to Pine Valley. There he is.
We want to go to these big markets and these big venues, but very few can replicate what they do in Phoenix. I mean, to even a 10th degree, right? For what Phoenix is able to accomplish.
I think you make a ton of great points there. And it's, again, it's funny how all these conversations tie together of like, what would we like this to be versus like, what are the economic realities of a major professional sports league? And so here's the good news. If you're a fan of tour golf and you want to see it, continue to be at this level or even expand and grow, Brian Rolap's going to be really good at that. Like he's got the whole playbook from the NFL, this nebulous product we talk about week in, week out. He's going to be very good at enhancing that product and getting more, cash inflows to the league and making sure that it not only survives and thrives. Here's the bad news is that could be at the expense of a lot of intricacies and traditions and things that make the PGA Tour what the PGA Tour is.
Yeah.
And that means cutting events we love at venues we love. I think it's like there will be some overlap on a venue. It's a risk. And there will be some overlap on a venue that is good, historic, caters to, interesting golf, and one that is commercially viable that people want to tune in and see, which I think is the direction that Roll App seems to want to go, to place certain events in certain places and times of the calendar where it's like, I'm definitely going to, we've heard like the rumor that Pebble Beach could host the Tour Championship. It's like, okay, like that's definitely going to get people to tune in because people love that place and that's a high stakes tournament, right? But you just wonder how does a 22 to 25 event schedule feel? And is it, what's happening when they're not playing? And, how does my experience as a fan of golf change on those weeks when there's not golf? It's a really tough one that you almost have to say, this is the way that all sports do.
Yeah.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Can USA overtake Canada and get that gold, Joe?
Absolutely, they can here. And ultimately, it feels like that is the two-horse race. And I think ultimately, Canadians don't really care if their team competes in the luge or the bobsled, Donnie, or anything else. They just want that gold when it comes to ice hockey. And that is the only thing that's going to matter there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on Kraft.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
But I will say, at 4.5 and over, I've been with covers for 20 plus years now. I've been betting for a long time. When it comes to 4 and 4.5 point spreads, if I'm looking at the favorite, I do not lay the points. I go straight to the money line, knowing that it's minus 200. This has been a no man's land for football betting in the NFL, basically since 2015, since they moved the point after touchdown back.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Honestly, I'd be pushing less for it to be a major and more for it to just have this sort of standalone branding of like, it's the players, it's a one of one, like it has the strength of field, it has a sort of unique, iconic venue that has a ton of drama down the stretch. Like, why do we need to then throw that in another conversation where it's going to be competing with things that are sort of apples to oranges? I don't understand it. I think it's disrespectful to all 5 events involved.
I am much more closer to the PGA Championship moving around the world than I am to getting the Players Championship to be a major championship. Like that to me is like where I'm at. Every one of these events has such a unique identity for the majors.
That is the best point.
And the PGA is just like, what is it? Like some years it's awesome. Like Southern Hills was an amazing venue, but it just like we're going to be going to Olympic Club for the PGA Championship at some point. It's like, wait, no, that's a US Open venue. So it just kind of doesn't have the same identity as the US Open. And not, of course, the Open is what it is. And Augusta has all the tradition that it has. Like, I'd love to see the PGA go places around the world, go to Australia, go to wherever, right? Like that to me would be really cool.
If you could figure out the TV piece of the PGA, I completely agree with you. Because then you have 5 completely distinct events where the Players is, of course, your PGA Tour flagship, one of the best, if not the best fields in golf. That's a standalone thing. Of course, I don't need to say much about Augusta National and Master. Like that's, the pinnacle, right? And same venue every year, a unique, fan experience, all these things, right? US Open being the domestic major at all the greatest American venues that we have and are able to access. The Open Championship being the most storied, long-running one that plays all the greatest places in the British Isles. And then the PGA, to your point, like, again, if you could take it to Australia, if you could just basically say, we'll go anywhere but the United States or the British Isles, and maybe with some exceptions, but like, we're just going to go to a bunch of really cool global venues, then it is completely distinct. And you're also seeing golf in a lot of places where you don't necessarily see it. That could be super cool.
It just kind of depends on what the PGA of America's initiative is. It's a company that's in America, right? Like, so it would make sense that they would just stay here. I don't know what their platform is globally, but I know what it is in the States, right? And it would make sense that in their history that they would just keep it in the States. So why change things? So I think it's much more of a pipe dream, but it is a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. I mean, and they still have a domestic property every 4 years, the Ryder Cup. when they're hosting that. So, I mean, it's all, yeah. We're doing a lot of pipe dreaming on today's show. I want to ban phones forever. We can dream. We can dream. We can do our best to dream. So, well, that was the entire rundown for today's show, Smylie. I think we covered everything pretty thoroughly here. Any other thoughts you want to add or things you want to tease for the upcoming shows?
I would like to shout out Jackson Brown and the North Dakota State Bison, going from the D2 all the way up to the Mountain West D1.
Is that official?
I think it's official. And if it is, the week that North Dakota State goes on the road to Hawaii, I think that we might be looking for a producer that week, because I don't think Jackson's turning that one down.
Oh man, I love that for Jax, and I feel like you're making the move up to D1, and you want someone to lead that team that's got a lot of good coaching experience. You want a guy that has coached at the collegiate level, but you probably want someone who maybe even has like some Super Bowl wins, some experience. Maybe like he had like 6 Super Bowl wins as a head coach, maybe another 2 as a defensive coordinator, and you could bring a guy like that in to coach North Dakota State. I mean, just imagine, how you could kick off that first year. So I'd just be looking around if I was Jackson to see if you can't find a guy that maybe fits a profile or that exact profile.
And of course, Jackson, our producer behind the scenes, will pop in. We talk about him often. Played football at North Dakota State, so that's a connection here, folks. He's got rings.
He's got some rings. He's also in addition to being the producer, he is the Smylie Show strength and conditioning coordinator, which we look forward to. We look forward to seeing what programming he puts together for us at the Masters this year. Really excited about that. So that's it. That's the show, Smylie. And we have Mark Blackburn dropping. The full episode drops Wednesday. We might roll out a bunch of separate things. We got to see a lot of cool breakdowns of all the different guys he coaches, including Justin Rose, fresh off the Farmers win, and Matt Fitzpatrick, who had a great week at the WM. In addition to Max Homa and Daniel Berger. Daniel Berger flashed a little bit this week. It's good to see him in contention. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Love Boog. That's the show. Appreciate you all hanging out, jumping in the comments, kind of giving us some stuff to talk about. And we'll check out Mark Blackburn on Wednesday, and then we'll be right back here next week to recap the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. See you soon.
We'll see you next week on the Golf Channel. This has been The Smylie Show.
He completed a pool bank shot at just 2 years and 302 days. His achievements make him one of the youngest double record holders ever. So let me summarize this for you without reading. He's 2 years old, and he's really good at pool. I mean, that is crazy. 2 years old! How is he doing this? I have no idea. So I guess we got to start training our youngsters to play pool. Okay, fair enough.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
How about selling it to a minority ownership group that could show the NFL is moving in the right direction? Hey, it's one thing to talk about black coaches in the National Football League. It's one thing to talk about black general managers. It's another thing to start talking about a minority owner owning the football team.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Gosh, I really do like the storylines with these open field events. Like I want us to expand these signature events to bigger fields, because I really do like the Joel Damon story, the Andrew Putnam story. It's part of the PGA Tour and what makes it so good. So I don't know where they're going to eventually end up on all of this.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on craft.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.